What's up? What's with the pleasantries? You want to know something? Just ask. I didn't. I was born into security detail, and when the corporations abandoned this place, I stayed. That's all I know. Besides, I had a few friends here, and they were staying too. What's up? I took a job once to clear out a rap nest. Partnered up with a fellow out of Fallbrook who called himself Dirty Don. Bit on the shorter side. Had a penchant for cards. Thing is, he introduces himself, and the man is immaculate. Clean. He had a flowery presence to him. A pleasantness that didn't invade your space. He was just there, and you were glad for it. When we set out to hunt down the Raptidons, I found out firsthand where his nickname came from. Dirty Don killed those Raptidons with his bare hands. His bare fucking hands, Captain. He was a whirlwind of grotesque primal fury. In the end, he stood drenched in blood over the entrails of a dozen raps. If he had a scratch on him, I wouldn't have been able to tell. It was glorious. Day came when he tried to take on a mannequin. Got himself eaten one limb at a time. Wonder if he tasted like soap. Oh well, live and learn. No matter how tough you are, if you're gonna fight something bigger than you, bring a firearm. What's up? You ever name a place? Ever come to a spot in the world you think ought to be remembered? Those don't count. Those names were paid for. I name things and places quite often. Rotting River, Golden Rock, the Horizon's Edge. Anytime I come to a spot I think is worth remembering, I name it. It's easy to get lost in the wilderness. I don't mean physically. All you need is a clear night sky to get your bearings. I mean, it's easy to forget that you belong. Spend a few weeks camping with the Raps, and you start to forget what it's like to be human. When a beast growls at you, maybe you start to growl back. Those little spots, a rock here, a river there, I'd name them so that in those moments, I could remind myself not where I was, but who I was. Well, we eat, we drink and holler and fuck. On some level, we all function the same. But they ain't got memories or attachments to places, to friends, to themselves. I found that every once in a while, my own attachments would start to slip. Then I'd take a drink from the rotting river, find my spirit refreshed. Anyway, enough sentimental yammering. Let's find a drink or a target. What's up? All right. I made friends with a canid once. They ain't as savage as the Raps. They're more careful. Some of them will sniff your feet before they attack. Well, one morning, I opened the flap to my tent to find a canid sniffing around the remains of my fire pit. Suppose it must have smelled the rapt I boiled for dinner the night before. Thing is, I had dragged that rapt off and burned it before I turned in. Can't have anything catching a whiff of fresh meat and coming to interrupt my beauty sleep. Yeah, across a sulfur pool and over Rotting River. I'd never seen such a keen hound. As I grabbed my gun, it walked up to me, right up to my tent, and stopped. It looked me dead in the eye and it didn't growl. It just sniffed around, sat for a spell, started walking off. When it saw I wasn't following it, it waited. Hard to the void, Cap. It looked back at me, and it was only when I walked in its direction that it continued. Once I started following, it put its nose to the ground and led me for some 20 minutes through the wilderness. Soon we came to a small rap nest, and in that nest lay 2 dead canids. My new friend looked at the Raps, then at me, then at the Raps again. That was my estimation also. And I was only too happy to oblige. Once I blew the shriveled brains out of those sulfur-sucking wraps, my canid companion walked to the corpses of its packs, and with a soft whimper, it laid among them. I ain't seen emotion in a beast before, but that day, I believed it to be grieving. I thought I ought to kill it, put it out of its misery, and secure myself a decent meal, but I couldn't bring myself to pull the trigger. Don't know why. Maybe on account of my own personal losses. Maybe I could relate. Either way, that grieving canid is still out there somewhere. Or it's been eaten. Who knows? What's up? Maybe later, Cap. I'm all storied out for the moment. That said, you ain't been eaten or shot to death yet. Says a lot about the stability of your future. And to be honest, So how's about this? You keep letting me stay on that ship of yours? Perish. What's up? Oh, sure. Once, our group was short on bits, and we were low on meat. We were trying to come up with a plan when we met Rebecca and her little sister. Every once in a while, when times got desperate, we looked to Fallbrook for dirty work. The sisters had never been there before. They lived in Cascadia all their life. First night we stayed there, well, you know me. I was in my cups. I sat to play cards with a few gentlemen from Byzantium who had deep pockets. Thought I'd make a bid or two. You'd bet correctly. They're willing to throw away money because they've got so much extra. So, I'm up against this old man from somewhere on Terra 2, long retired and looking for adventure he hadn't found in his youth. Thing is, he's smarter than the average tourist, tighter. I'm chipping away at his wallet, but it's a slow-going, frustrating game. So then, Rebecca sits at the table. I hadn't known she could even play, let alone that she'd be willing to. For her part, she did fine. Didn't lose much. But the tourist, the old Terra 2 retiree, Rebecca distracted him something awful, and I took him for all he had. Oh yes. Rebecca and I became fast friends that night. I'd give quite a bit to see her at the tables again. What's up? I'll tell you how I met Hayes. Before the corporations left, I took patrol contracts for the Monarch roads, protecting caravans from raps and the like. One such contract, the client's autoloader broke down, so we started the rest of the journey on foot. It comes to the middle of the night when I start hearing noises. They were a kind of whistling, these low, short, piercing whistles. Thing is, in all my travels, I'd never heard them from the wildlife. Just as I put one thought to the other, a group of men leapt out of hiding, guns drawn. Fucking pirates. Right? The audacity. I'd respect it if it hadn't been me they were trying to rob. I set my faithful machine gun to two of them immediately. Third fled. The remaining two stopped dead in their tracks. One begged for his life. He had quite a mouth on him. The other was silent, just staring at me. Nah, he was listening. I asked the quiet one, "What should I do with you two?" My client shouted to kill them. The other man ran his mouth, kept begging me to spare them. The quiet one said, "Listen." We all stopped for a beat, but I didn't hear anything. Then, slow creeping, a quiet snarling. Mantisaurs. It got bloody fast, but in the thick of it, the quiet man and I stood back to back, fending off a swarm. In the end, his mouthy friend went down. He helped my client and I limp back to town. Along the way, he introduced himself. Jackson Hayes. After that, we stuck around each other. Good help is hard to find out here. Nah, they could have killed me when the Mantisaurs attacked. or anywhere along the road after. He didn't. That choice redeemed the other. I won't lie, it still puts a strain in my spirit to think about him. But it also puts a smile on my face, so thanks for chatting. What's up? We were having trouble offloading meat once. We had a bit of a surplus, mostly wrapped, but a bit of taro too, and we couldn't find a buyer. Well, Opal often cooked for us, so she offered to make a feast. The meat was gonna go bad if we didn't use it anyway. The rest of us set to gathering things we could use as tables and chairs. Rocks, logs, leathers. I know. Proper civilized. Anders managed to find these little mushrooms that didn't make your stomach roll over if you boiled them. Hayes brought an old Spectrum bottle he'd been saving. But what really made it special was Clara. She'd been handling our books, and it turned out that every time we stopped through Fallbrook to trade, she'd been skimming off the top. I suppose. I never asked as to what her original intentions were. Turns out, she had taken those savings and had medallions made. A set of them, one for each of us. Each had one of our initials, and together they spelled Charon. The word had been Hayes' idea, but it wasn't until Clara passed out those medallions that we stuck to it. Yeah, Hayes had said it was some kind of myth. I don't know. It sounded cool. That night, around a roaring fire, eating a feast fit for kings, drinking and laughing and sharing our lives. That's when my misfit group of ne'er-do-wells became a family. I'll never forget them, much as it pains me to remember. Yeah, I really am. What's up? Maybe later, Cap. I'm all storied out for the moment.